even if the government controls how the country works, and even if it's a very controlled society, if people are unhappy, they at least know who to point the finger at.
Yeah.
I think the scariest thing about the West now is nobody's accountable because nobody knows who the boss is. I don't understand how any red-blooded male with half a brain isn't slightly anxious in the world today.
Gotta be.
If you have half a protective instinct inside of you, you have to be thinking as you go to sleep at night, what am I gonna do if this happens? And if you're not thinking that way, perhaps you're part of the problem because it's glaringly obvious what their intentions are. And their intentions are to lock up anyone who talks about what they're gonna do and burn it all to the ground for themselves. That's the intention.
And it seems like it's very difficult to stop at this point because, you know, look, I always said this, you know, real downfall of our country is when the media is starting to be controlled by the government in power. And that's what's happening. They don't tell the truth anymore. They don't report the news anymore. All they do is cover for the current administration.
Yep.
When that happens, people don't get the news. They don't know what's really going on. It's all about propaganda. It's like Russia, China, anywhere else.
Yep.
You know, that's happened big time. And then, of course, weaponizing
Yep.
the government agencies to go after their political enemies. And they're all worried about Trump doing that. This guy's been the victim of that for years now. And they're worried about him doing it. And people buy into that. They don't see what's happening.
Another thing that's scary, I completely agree with you, but you know why it's even scarier in America than these other places? Because you look at, I don't know, we take China, for example. The state media's propagandists for the government and the regime understand, fine. But you know who runs the government. So you know who at least the boss is.
Mm-hmm.
So at least if people are unhappy, even if they're being bombarded with propaganda, even if the government controls how the country works, and even if it's a very controlled society, if people are unhappy, they at least know who to point the finger at.
Yeah.
I think the scariest thing about the West now is nobody's accountable because nobody knows who the boss is. You believe Biden's right now calling shots?
He never was.
So who has it been? And you can go WEF or Globo Homo or this group or that group or the banks or the media. We don't even know who's in charge anymore.
You're right.
You want to talk about removing responsibility. Well, to remove responsibility, you remove accountability, right?
Yep.
If you're sitting in front of a pile of money and nobody knows who you are, you can steal it. If there's a big pile of money and they say Andrew Tate's sitting in front of that money, as soon as something's missing, they know who to go for.
They know where to go.
So we don't even have accountability, which is the most basic point and one of the tenets of democracy in the first place, to know who's supposed to be in charge so we know who's responsible for things. It's just passing the buck, lying, shadow orgs, this forever bureaucrats who've been in power for 20, 30 years. I mean, I don't even know it. I'm sure there's some position somewhere deep in the government where you get to make perhaps not laws, but regulations.
Yeah.
What's the difference? You just do them as you want. Nobody knows your name. And you operate with impunity, and you've been there forever. And, I mean, Putin did say one very interesting thing in his conversation with Tucker when Tucker was trying to press Putin about the Ukraine war.
Yeah, he wouldn't respond.
He wouldn't really respond, but he did allude to something. He said, well, I don't talk to Biden, I don't talk to the president. He said, my security service is, they speak to the CIA. So I guess the CIA is in charge.
Yeah.
Are they democratically elected?
No. Oh, no.
I mean, I guess the CIA are in charge now. That's a guess. But there's a lot of people now trying to put their fingers in this pie and walk out with a whole bunch of it. And there doesn't seem to be very much left for the common person. Very interesting, very scary position we're in. And I guess the answer is just to try and get people to pay attention long enough to see the truth and to speak about it and to not believe the garbage anymore.
Andrew, you know, another thing too, this whole transgender move, I mean, I've been very outspoken about it, you know, and listen, I probably have the same feeling as you. Do what you want.
Yep.
Don't force it on me.
Yeah.
Don't force it on my kids. Don't tell me I have to celebrate Pride Month for a month. Don't tell me I have to do a why. I'm not forcing my beliefs on you. Why are you doing that to me?
Veterans get a day.
You know?
And they get a month.
A day. Every holiday gets a day, just about.
Yep.
And they get a month.
It's the final attack on objective morality. It's the final attack on truth. Once they can force you to look at the sky and say it's green, they win. Then it's over. The slave programming is fully installed. Once they can force you to look at a man and say it's a woman, then they finally win. Now there's no such thing as truth. You ignore your own eyes. No matter what your eyes tell you, you believe the news over your eyes. And how do they do that? Well, they do that by forcing you to at least say it. Most people in most jobs, they'll lose their job if they don't say it.
Absolutely.
They have to say it.
They have to say it.
If you say it enough, eventually you'll stop thinking the opposite.
Yeah.
And they just slowly grind down the population. That's what they're going to do until eventually. We talk about transgenderism now as if it's controversial. And 100 years from now, it's going to be the most, oh yeah, why was this, she, he, back and forth, blah, blah. Slowly. And I guess when you talk about the enemies of freedom, one of the things they do very well is that they think generationally. They think my son's son will be in charge of this mess, hopefully one day. So I'll set up this garbage now. It may take 60, 70 years to get in, but in the end, we'll get what we want. You know, it's kind of interesting. People often think that a lot of things are done for money, and a lot of them are. But money is power, and it's the power they really want.
100%.
I mean, you know better than me. Money gets boring. Power never really gets boring.
It's all about the power.
Power stays fun.
Absolutely.
And you always want more.
Absolutely. It's all about money and power.
And that's what they really want. And they're prepared to destroy the entire economy and set it all on fire because they print the money anyway.
Yeah.
They'll have food. They'll be fine. But they want you on your knees begging.
Yeah.
That's what they want. That's what they really want.
And it's working. They're getting it.